제가 맞으나 처음 나타나게 가르쳐 전에 저 넘었다고 지금 알았어.
So if you never remember that, and even though if you practice dharma and you will never practice dharma perfectly.
저도 저거 통수된 거를 나 시를 선배시기 맞잖아. 양 비도도 지금 알아요. 시고 맞으면 양 센지티는 양 갈아서야 등 제말 내가 세아서 뭐 거용 거라 봐. 어디 저한테 거용하지. 왜 지기하고 처음에 더 이거 뭐 뱉다지.
So in the very morning, if you do some kind of session, you can practice. So that very moment, if you didn't remember that, if you do that practice in that session, like it's okay for some extent, but it's not so perfect. So what happens? Because of the result that we are unable to remember that from the very moment when we wake up, so that day we always engage in activity of doing kind of so many things. Then for your betterment.
참 사돈 내가 해야 되면 지마가 거야 등 배셔서야 등 저성 거용 것도 와. 그래야 돼 저거 메타가 보지 먹으면 돼.
So after you finish you can say, morning session, you can say, if you meditation, whatever, in that very moment, you are unable to remember the next life. You can say, death or the impermanent. If you didn't meditate on impermanent or death, the result is that.
impermanent example.
Okay. If you meditate on the impermanent, so what happens? And after you finish the session, then you will just, right after that, you will just go to do some kind of activities which can accumulate the money, and it's just try to go to find the job or whatever. It's always engaged in the worldly sensual activities.
And that thing why some person got like a labor. And that thing I'm going to the party.
No.
The level said it, Jamaton to says, and then I saw the term was a tip for
So that's why when we in the session, it's very important to do this kind of things. So if you finish the sessions and if you do this kind of other activities, and it's really an obstacle for us, for what? To do our good practice. So that's why it's very important to do our good practice when you are in a session.
Then method you was channel, there's other shit that there's shit under the translator or jump to one.
So when you are able to meditate on you can say remember the impermanence, and that time is very easy for you to just, you can say, concentrate on attachments and anger.
시다야 뭐 기억도 막 터시 사십 도지야 뭐 기억도 막 터시는 많자도 추지야 개원 그러면 추지야 뭔지 그 메시아 바고 그 추슈는 막 메시도 진짜 이거 쳐들 내가 보면
So impermanent is something like that. Suppose there is you can some matter, and if you pour the hammer on that, then it will collapse. And also you can do where the water get boiled up. If you pour, you can say cold water, it will cool down. It's like that. So meditation of impermanence is something like that to stop the attachment and
anger.
No.
No.
So we can say fire is something like an attachment or anger, and you can say boiling water. So if you pour the cold water down, it's something more like you can say meditation on impermanence, which is just collapse down. So it's very beneficial.
메다가 맞잖아, 최남다 맞지. 최남다 맞잖아, 시갈라봐야 하는 게 마치 뭐지. 근데 라가라야 하는 게 마치 뭐지 시고에 쓰기랬어.
So if you didn't meditate on impermanence, or if you didn't remember the impermanence, then you will never get a chance to yourself to do a perfect practice.
Tam metawa sangre ngara do nyame ga tangbo ngale ya tangbo kulung ju du zai metawa kongbo re. Pala ya muji komja du metawa kongbo re. Tamamalam ja du zai metawa kongbo re. Sonda pasum na kesi wa.
So impermanent is very important in all the stages. There are three different kinds of stage: initial stage, middle stage, and the final stage. In the initial stage is the stage when we are setting the motivation. When we are setting the motivation. Yeah. In the initial stage, when we're setting the motivation, when we meditate on impermanence, then we are able to do a good meditation. We are able to do the firm meditation in the middle. You can say in the middle. And also, when we are in the middle stage, when we are doing meditation, it's very helpful for us to meditate on the impermanence. When we meditate on impermanence, and it helps us to not to distract our minds to go here and there. Because if we distract our minds, which means that you are just distracted with sensual things. So then at the right moment, if you meditate on impermanence, then you can able to, just concentrate your mind in a very particular direction. So when you in the middle stage, when you do the meditations, at that time, if you really firmly meditate on impermanence, and it really helps you to do a strong dedication. So when you do the strong dedication with the understanding of impermanence, and then your dedication will be really a perfect dedication. So when you are able to meditate on the impermanence, and there's no way, no chance to yourself is distracted by, you can say, worldly sensual things and anger and so forth. So that's why the meditation on impermanence is very important. It's the heart of teaching.
지난 저번에 봐도야를 미슈 본다다 이제 둘이 손자 돌아야 여러 많은 치와디 오늘 미슈 본다 경에 치모 봐서 돌아야 말이야.
So that is something which is really immovable. Any kind of things that we appear in the world, we can just destroy it by using any kind of means, weapons, so forth. But we can't destroy death by weapons. So that is something that is there always.
메시라고 저기 그게 그래서 갖다 보시면 메시라고 증거도 메시라고 그리고 자도니 파파마시아에 시고와시아디 추구도는 미 상제고 말은 지어 메시아를 말을 갖다 보자니 지어면서 소배야 말이다.
So the fact of the death is something that is, like you can't remove the fact of death from, you can say, by any kind of means. Suppose you can take the example of the people who can really speak well, who are really very much talented in speaking, and who are really, or can say the people who are really brilliant, and they can say something, but they are unable to remove the fact of death. That is there.
야, 중간에 내가 알아서 그냥 빼셔야 돼. 뭐지? 비는데 여러 침몰로 뭐지? 비야 맞도. 대한민지 아처마다 저 와서 오늘 말이 좀 때려드는 뭐지? 비야 이렇게 맞아. 지금 지금 감사해요 말아.
So in terms of court, in terms of court, and the court can decide some kind of punishment for the, you can say, the one who do we can say, one who do the crime, who committed the crime, they give a punishment. But, that the court cannot give the punishment for the death to destroy the death. The death is there. It's a fact.
지금 아주 더블링은 세들이야 땡대지 매우 남들 서링들은 제가 방면서 나를 통도 마동 설로 로지를 대시하고 더블링은 심지어야 세령도 땡대기는 사소 따라야 매우.
So the sentient beings who are in this earth, the sentient beings who are in this samsara, so the sentient beings who are in this samsara or in this earth, that's very indefinite about their life. Sometimes, like, they have you can say, limitless of life. You can say the length of their life is really limitless. And sometimes their life is really too short as that of 10 years.
So
this is the age of that in a maximum like 1 century age. But we say that it's the time, it's the age of that we are having, you can say 100 years, but it's not so definite because there are some who are just who died in the mother's womb and they are just died by birth. Right after the birth they get died. And they just remain like 10 years, maybe 50 years, but it's not indefinite, it's not so average. That's very indefinite.
So
right now here, we all seems to be very smart and beautiful right now here. But after a few years, what happens? We never know. So maybe we all finished. So that's why we say that the life is really indefinite. So this is the fact of life. So it's very important by considering the fact, then it's the right time for us to practice dharma. So by thinking such a fact, and we may just think that, oh, I don't need the food, I want to practice dharma. I don't need clothes, I want to practice dharma. I don't need a house to stay, I want to practice dharma. We have to think about practice, because if we think about the fact, it's something like that. So, to practice dharma, it doesn't mean that it's a traditional. It doesn't mean that it's cultural. It doesn't mean that some kind of, we can say, you are practiced under the pressure. It's a practice. It's a practice. It's a practice that which remove your sickness and to develop your happiness, or it's a practice to remove the sufferings and to accumulate the happiness. So that's why we say that we need to practice dharma. And we never say that to practice dharma is a traditional custom, something like. So the practicing dharma by yourself is not something that you are donating for dharma. It's the thing that the dharma can really help you. Yeah. So practicing dharma by yourself is not the fact that you are donating to dharma. It's the fact that dharma really donates you. So what dharma donates you is that which donates you to remove your sufferings and which gives you happiness. That's a donation from the dharma. So it's very important for us to know it.
去情形给去了家庭嘛了，个去的去情给了家庭什么了？
Actually, the one who practice Dharma, we never says the practitioner, the Dharma practitioner, we never say the Dharma practitioner is very much this one. And this. So we never said that, like Dharma is really benefit for the practitioner. We never said that the practitioner is not benefit to. The practitioner never benefits Dharma. Only Dharma benefits practitioner.
대순사는 걸 하고 가서다 지당을 하서다 저불량이야 아니 지금 새로 보여야 그 튼진디 농용을
So therefore, we are shortage of facilities of what to have a long life in this samsara, in this earth.
뭐 저한테 둘이야 몇 새로 보여도 지지야 소야가 나서지도 기는 소고요 그래서 새로 보여도 지었대. 생산세 통도를 들어 단도도 새로 보여도 지금 소야 그래서
During the, you can say, immeasurable lifetimes, during the immeasurable lifetimes, the life which is really out, like very long lifetimes, like it's limitless lifetimes, what happens? And they never create such a weapons to reduce their lives. But right now, we are very short life. What happens? We are producing such weapons which shorten our life more. Why?
It's
like all these right now, all the human beings are so fragile and so delicate that we can die in a very moment, but still we are trying to produce such a weapons to kill us. Why?
So I feel
that in these times, the human beings in this samsara and this very earth, I think that they are really crazy. They're really fools. Because they think that it's too hard to die. Because the fact is that they are creating so many protection which you can say shorten your lives. Weapons, arms and air conditions and more and so forth.
That is why I'm going to get down to Zana. Take that because of so much of maybe. So many another some German was the show and to the name of the was to the one senior. Lumbaya get down. Such a that Mangoja bad, Salot the loss in a better bad, look about some much by get down to Zan. So
that's why we say that these times we are developing our country and society. What we do, we collapse all the mountains and all the, you can say, fields, and we just blow all that and we constructed, you can say, houses and so forth. So what happens? There are so many, you can say, formless springs that who stays there. So we always harms them. So what happens when we do that and we harms them, and in return they do harms us? Because of that, they came across more disease and more problems and more conflicts so forth in the human society.
Mashilanga also garden also metal also doing a considerable. You might some
So fact is that when we construct a good road, when we made a good drainage system, when we made a beautiful garden, from one point of view we said that it's so beautiful and so nice, so fresh. But thing is that those spirits and animals who are used to stay there, we make them homeless. So that's not true. That's not true. So anyhow, indirectly, we are really harmful for them, those who are, you can say, formless spirit.
jen di garo ya ni je kera tomba je taro sunja du very shi ta shi shibe ton ju so ma sang je ngara mi ma ni be ngara so ya na tem ge ji ta ga yo
So, except human beings, there are, you can say, like billions of creatures that who have a life, except human beings. So, it's very important for humans to just think about their life too.
다 지단 시기만 와 맞아요. 순진 탑재는 순배견이야. 체리 모양이야. 그 tun진도 공로 아주 치안 개견을 두고 그랬어.
So, instead of engaging in such a practice that to create, shorten our lives, just to hamster, you can say, this speed and so forth, it's very important for us to engage in such activities which restrain our life, to, you can say, lengthen our life. So it's very important for us. So you can take the example. So from the one person, from the one aspect, we say that we create such a good facilities which can develop the human time and so forth. You can say for the human convenience that we develop so many, you can say vehicles and so forth. Like you can take the one car or taxi, whatever. So because of the taxi, how many people get died for accidents and so forth. From one point, we say that we develop it for the sake of human convenience, but that's not true. So the place where there's no vehicles, there's no airplanes, they didn't get a chance. They never happened to be died because of air crash or because of accident. They're really happy. So in terms of in the very developed areas, what happens is because of these so many modern facilities, and they come across so many, they're taking so many lives. So in terms of food, and food is something that we can survive for us. For our survival, we used to eat food. So even though the food is something that food is such a matter that we can use for survival, we can say for our life, to alive, we eat what food. To restrain our life, we eat food. But sometimes what happens, because of food poison, what happens? They get so many people's life. So actually, you can take the example of medicine. Medicine is really a good facility. For what? For the betterment of human society or so forth. But in course of time, there comes a new doctors or whatever. They give us such medicine. They're taking us so many lives of human beings. Actually, it's a facility.
So then around the Shia, when you bet Tunji Janja, Shia Lajana, Tunji Janja Kese. About during what the Yaga Tunji did,
so whatever the modern facilities that we are having right now, as far as I feel, it's more like we are making a facility which shorten our life in any direction, in any circumstances.
Yeah, that Tunji and I learned hours by Jar of Tapoji and the Ozaba, and Lady Tapoji Rochanda, Lady Tapoji, Shubwana, she does my top sugar.
If we produce such a modern facilities which can benefit our human being, if our human form is happen to be so hard as that of iron, it's okay then. But our human form is something like water bubble. It just comes and goes. So what happens? So our life, second by second, day by day, our life became short and short. So is it there any chance to donate our life? Is there any chances of having donation to strengthen our life? No.
어제 두자는 안 거. 봐. 다는 그래 쉬어도 내가 쉬어나 쉬래. 다는 들은 매나 매 쉬어도 좋아지 주는 매너로 저는도 양 약속이 또. 다양 근데 바시기 연에 다 tun시와 tun지 뭔가 연에 다 쉬어도 양 봐. 직접은 밀려는 거지나 이것도 왔어요.
So if it's okay, if all this you can say these are facilities which you can say this facility the modern facilities which what to do which really has not a house which really acts in that way that which really shorten our lives. It's okay if that shorten our life. If we get it that close to death, it's okay. If we don't have a next future life, but that's not true that we have a future life. So that's why.
我前面在讲说，生的过军事，生的军的钱呢，生的军的大过了。
That's why the fact is that the stream of the mental continuum, okay, say the stream of the mind is something like very continuity. It's spontaneously, it continues and it goes.
생도 수사 저기 전고军事또 좋아요 말.
So the stream of the mind or the continuity of the mind is just goes forever. What happened in course of time? They get another form, just that change that form and goes to another form, change that form, another form. That continues forever. There's no any break.
생도 좋아지만 양고 조련 누구요 다 누구냐 누구요 관 누구요 하고야만 고 소리 지기
So the mental continuum or the stream of the mind just goes forever, whether it goes to hell or whether it goes to wherever, it just goes, it follows forever, just changing the form.
선생님도 가르치고 해서는 그때니까 대도님도 두고. So 어떻게 쉬어요?
게딩이가
대도님.
So when you can say mental continuum follows continuously, and there are 4 different kind of you can say supporters, more like supporters of facts. 4 different kind of facts always follows with you can say stream of mind. They are like virtues and non-virtues, and happiness and unhappiness always go together with the I can say stream of mind.
아주 선생님도 안에 다 되고 바자망아 연안에 동행님도 망치하고 있어. 동행님도 두고 있다고 있어.
So in that mental stream of that mental mind, if there are more, you can say, if there are more imprints on, you can say, non-virtues, they have imprinted they have to follow with the sufferings. Yeah. If they can say, in the continuum of the mental imprint, there is more, you can say, like negative qualities, and they has to make a friend with the suffering.
교화 망아 연애고 타베 교화 남아송인가 교화 사제 교화에 그 눈에 쭉 걸어요. 교화 대화도 말해. 이는 유에 대응을 해주스. 대화.
If in the continuum of the mental stream there is you can say the virtues, you can say sensual virtues activities, like we do you can say virtues.
대화 다마다 말아. 유에 대응을 하시는 인도를 주스.
We do a virtuous action, and that give us some kind of happiness. And that happiness is not the perfect happiness, just you can say like a sensual happiness. So that happiness just follows with the happiness which can changeable happiness, which not the happiness, which not the perfect happiness.
세상은 좀 줘야 돼. 보고 니잘라 야야시고 여러 말았어.
So both the friend that we follows continuously, you can not be the stream of the The mental continuum follows. You got two friends, and both the friends are not so good.
세상 동반인 동반 마도나 아니야 그 대화지 요대 대화를 기가 대화 우리 동반이 다 다음에 되는데 마도나
So
생기냐면더라.
So these two friends are not so good. So what's the best for us is that in this very life, it's very important for us to understand the fact of emptiness, the fact of the perfect view or the correct view.
제가 인상 다른 안도 지기가 왜 남조수냐면 뒤에 유나 네 뭐야 내가 두고 야고 있는 줄
If we happen to have a practice of three principles of path, then it's really a good friend, and we can consider it as a good friend, and it's not only consider, it's really a good friend. Normally, what we do, the third friend that we have, we always try to bag the third friend. We bagged backside. We always, what to turn the back. There's another friend, third friend. For third friend, what we do, we always turn the third friend, which means that we always show the backside to the third friend. So what we do, backed we means that we never give our attention for what? The three friends. What are the three friends? Three principles of path. For that, actually it's a perfect friend. But what we do, we never give an interest, we never give our attention, we always ignore that. So we turn back the three principles of path